Hi everyone, it's Shar. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. We are almost officially entering spooky season, or at the very least, August is coming to a close, so I am wearing my Halloween Town sweatshirt in celebration of it, even though it's very bright orange. Anyway, that is besides the point. With fall coming up, there are some books that I can't wait to read off of my TBR, things that I've been putting off specifically for the fall time. For no other reason than I think that they would be fun to read in fall. They don't all necessarily have like fall spooky vibes. I just think that some element of it will work really well for a full-time read. Without further ado, I'm gonna jump on in because your girl started a new job and she has a meeting in 30 minutes. So let's get through this. Some of these books you've heard me talk about before, some of these books you have not. Either way, at the very least, my hope and my intention for this video is that you are able to find a book recommendation that excites you, something that you might want to read in the upcoming months. So the first book that I'm super excited to read is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This book has showed up on many of my TBRs, probably because subconsciously I knew that I wasn't going to read it until fall, but somehow was trying to convince myself to read it earlier than that. Of course, this is a Gothic horror book set in Mexico, so of course it's the perfect book to read during the fall time and the fall season. In this book, we're following Noemi, who receives a letter from her recently married cousin, which essentially says, "Come to my house. Shit is weird. My husband's fucking weird. This family's fucking weird." So Noemi goes to the estate at her father's request to go kind of check things out and see what's going on. While she's there, she finds out this family is fucking weird in lots of ways, and the house may be haunted. All I know about this is that there's a scene in here that apparently is very disturbing, but I love Gothic fiction. I love Gothic horror, so of course I'm excited to read this book. My Dearest, Darkest is a kind of weird book. All I know about it for sure is that Sapphic, and honestly, if you know me, you know, that's all you gotta say to convince me to read something. But My Dearest Darkest follows the story of this girl named Finch, and she and her parents were in a really horrific car accident, one that should have ended her life because of the severity of it. Like, she should not have survived that car accident, but something interferes and refuses to let her die. She ends up going to this new school where she meets Selena. Now, Selena St. Clair is the queen bee of this new boarding school that Finch is attending, and they become fast friends. For some reason, they and their friend group decide to go down to the basement and summon a demon. You know, as the girly pops do. This being that they summon promises to fulfill all of their desires: wealth, beauty, fame, prosperity, whatever it is that they want, it promises to fulfill. But of course, some things are too good to be true, and a bargain with a demon is not always a good idea. So in this story, we're following them leading up to that point, and then we are following them as they try to undo what they have done and stop the being that is now going after everyone on the island. Like I said, Sapphic, that's all I need to know. And tell me that it's not the perfect like October, right around Halloween time read. Let's stick with the spooky theme. We have House of Hollow, which still has its 20% off Target sticker. I paid $8 for this book at Target. Anyway, House of Hollow is the story of these three girls, Vivi, Gray, and Iris, disappeared off of the streets of some Scottish city. They've disappeared off the streets of a Scottish city a while ago. Then like a year later, they reappear and they have no memory of what has happened in the year that they've been gone, and they're trying to adjust to being back in reality. However, these young girls were all like dark-haired, blue-eyed girls, but as time goes on, their eyes turn black and their dark hair turns white. And they're just trying to go out their lives, but they really can't escape that, of course, if this has happened to them and these changes are happening to them, and then we're years in the future, and Iris is just trying to go to college, trying to live a normal life to the best of her ability. But her sister Gray goes missing, and she's leaving a bizarre trail of clues behind her, and she and her sister are kind of forced to come to terms with what's happened to their sister, what actually happened to them, and what really went on when they disappeared all those years ago, and something about the world that they entered not letting them go so easily. From what I understand, you can tell it's magical realism, it's very speculative. It seems like it's gonna be pretty gothic, and honestly, I'm so excited to read this just because I'm curious about what exactly happened to these girls, and it sounds like there is a fantasy element, but that people are keeping secrets about what actually happened, both when they disappeared and when they reappeared. Now we have a murder mystery. It's Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. Vera Wong owns a tea shop and her son has moved out. She's kind of on her own, but she's doing her best to keep herself entertained. One day she goes down to her tea shop and she finds a dead body, and this dead body has a flash drive in its hands. She calls the police, of course, but she snatches up the flash drive because she thinks that she can solve this murder better than any police person could ever do, that she is nosy enough to get the information that she needs. Her tea shop now has a sudden influx of customers, and she's getting to know each and every one of them while also trying to figure out which one of them was responsible for the death of this man. And as she develops relationships to them, she also has to think about, well, if she gets close to the murderer, does she actually want to turn them in? This just sounds like a really classic, cozy murder mystery and a great September time read. Now here's where we get to the territory of it just feels like fall to me, and I can't explain why this one feels like fall. This is Opposite of Always by Jason Reynolds. As you can see, I did purchase it because I don't remove the stickers off my book. Bad bookish habit. This is the story of Jack and Kate. Jack and Kate meet at a party and they hit it off right away. It's pretty much love at first sight. They're having a great time together and everything is going well until Kate dies. And what I know from that point is that, of course, Jack is devastated, but he's in a time loop now where each and every time he knows Kate is going to die. It sounds like the premise of a movie I watched and loved a long time ago, but if you've seen a movie that has a similar premise of a man whose girlfriend dies and he's stuck in a time loop, let me know what that movie is called because I can't remember what it was. Either way, it reminded me of the summary of this book, which is why I really want to read it. I tend to like these kind of stories where it's lost love and we're trying to figure out why exactly he has entered a time loop. This is the only like specific situation in which I enjoy a time loop because I typically don't, but I do enjoy it when there's a romantic kind of lost love, soulmate level thing going on. Like Mexican Gothic. I have been saying that I'm going to read this book all year long, but I haven't because it gives me anxiety. This is Daphne by Josh Malerman. As I mentioned, the reason why I haven't read this book so far is because it is very much about this girl with, I don't know if she necessarily has anxiety, but I know a lot of people say that this book is a metaphor for like anxiety and obsessive compulsive tendencies and thoughts, intrusive thoughts, etc. Because what the story is about is a girl who goes to this school, and at the school there is a rumor of this like really tall girl who like vanished or died named Daphne, and she's become kind of like a urban legend where you're not supposed to think about Daphne or speak about Daphne or anything because it like brings bad luck or you like summon her. So our main girl is going about her life, but of course she can't stop thinking about Daphne. I've loved The House Beneath the Lake, The House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Malerman. Like I really, really love that book, and I've been wanting to read another one of his books, so I'm very excited to read this one. It is my shiniest book, so it has a lot of glare. Apologies for that, if you can see my tripod in the book. I just went from this one off because like I said, I do struggle with anxiety and I do struggle with intrusive thoughts, so I've been nervous that this would trigger me. So I'm gonna wait to be in like at least a really stable point mentally so that when I read this, hopefully it doesn't trigger me, but self-care is really important. So if I do start reading this and that does happen, I will put it down. I just think that the fall autumnal time is a perfect time to read a horror book. So I'm gonna push myself to do that. We Spread by Ian Reid. This is, from what I've heard, a genre kind of bending book. So We Spread is the story of ooh, dry throat, bestie. It's a story of a woman who is elderly. She's in the retirement phase. She's lost her life partner, and one day someone shows up at her home and says, hey, we're here to take you to the retirement home. Remember, you came to visit us. You liked everything. You wanted us to come get you, but our main character has been struggling with her memory. So she's deeply suspicious. Damn. you think I would stop to get some water, and I won't. You see, okay, maybe I won't. She's deeply suspicious because she has no memories of ever doing that, but she knows she's been struggling with her memory. So everything kind of checks out and she decides to go. From what I understand, this story is really more about like loss, identity, sense of self, and who you are when you've lost everything that makes you you. I've heard it's very sad. I've heard it makes people cry. It's somehow still classed as a horror. So I'm imagining that element of not knowing whether or not she actually signed up to live at this retirement home is gonna come up. Just like Daphne, I've been putting this off not for anxiety reasons, but because it's sad and it's gonna make me cry, and I haven't wanted to cry. So fingers crossed that I will feel ready to read this book. But again, I think that the late fall time is the perfect time to read this. I think that like late October, almost getting to like early November would be the perfect time to read this book. Something about it just says cold weather book. All right, besties, and that's it. Of the 140 something books on my physical TBR, if you're curious about all of the books on my physical TBR, I do have a video on my channel, which I will link either in the description or somewhere here so that you can check it out if you would like to. These are the, I didn't count them, whatever number of books that I am most excited to read this fall, that I'm hoping to get to this fall. Let me know if you have read any of these books, if any of these books are ones that you think I would be most excited about, and of course, what you are reading this fall and what you are most excited to read this fall. With that said, I gotta go to my meeting, and I'm gonna see you in my next video. Bye, besties.